Hey everyone, and welcome back. You guys sent in some seriously interesting stuff for us to dig into this week, and I'm excited to jump in with you.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely a topic that always seems to get people going.
And for good reason, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about the Bermuda Triangle, the big one. But, before we get into all the wild theories and stories, I think it's important to sort of like set the stage.
Yeah, make sure we're all on the same page.
Exactly. So the Bermuda Triangle, this area we're talking about, it's actually way bigger than a lot of people think. We're
Yeah.
talking roughly 500,000 square miles.
It's this huge chunk of ocean bordered by Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it's a pretty vast expanse of water, not
Huh.
just like a little, triangle you draw on a map.
Right, and it's this huge area that's been, well, the source of so many stories of ships and planes just vanishing without a trace. Stories that go back hundreds of years, actually.
That's right. The term Bermuda Triangle itself is, relatively new. I think it popped up in the mid-20th century or so.
Hmm?
But the stories, the legends surrounding this area, those go way back. Oh, yeah, for sure. But I think things really blew up in the 1970s, right? All those books and documentaries about the triangle started coming out, the ones that talked about, like, underwater alien bases and time warps and all that.
Absolutely. It totally captured the public imagination.
Definitely. But amidst all that speculation, there are some genuinely strange cases that sort of like kickstarted this whole enduring mystery. Like the case of Flight 19. That was in your research, right?
Yep, Flight 19, definitely one of the most well-known disappearances. In 1945, 5 Navy bombers vanished during a training exercise. Just gone poof.
And the really creepy thing is that the rescue plane that was sent out to find them, that one disappeared too. Like, what are the chances?
It's just bizarre, and to this day, no wreckage has ever been found for either Flight 19 or the rescue plane. Just completely vanished.
Chilling. And then you've got the case of the USS Cyclops. That was another one from your research. This massive Navy cargo ship just disappeared in 1918.
Yeah.
Over 300 crew members on board, and no trace.
Yeah, the Cyclops is actually still the largest non-combat loss of life in U.S. Navy history. It's a huge mystery.
It really is. Then there's the case of the SS Marine Sulphur Queen, a tanker that vanished in 1963. It was carrying molten sulfur, and all that was ever found was a life preserver and some debris.
Yeah, that one makes you wonder if the cargo itself, if that somehow played a role in the disappearance.
I know, right? So eerie. And what's really striking is just how many incidents have been reported in this area over the years. Like, some estimates put the number of lives lost in the triangle at over 1,000.
It's a sobering thought. A lot of tragedy associated with this area.
No doubt.
Yeah.
So we've got these chilling disappearances, each
Yeah.
one adding to the overall mystery. And of course, there are a ton of theories out there trying to explain what happened, why this particular area seems to be so dangerous. I mean, your research covered a whole spectrum of possibilities.
Oh, yeah, from the
Uh,
completely plausible to the absolutely out there.
Exactly. But let's start with a more, down-to-earth explanations.
Mhm.
The natural factors that could be contributing to these incidents. Because the Bermuda Triangle, it's not exactly known for its calm waters and sunny skies, is it?
Nope, not at all. The area is actually notorious for sudden and violent storms. They can just appear out of nowhere. And then you've got rogue waves, those massive walls of water that can just wham, appear out of the blue.
Yeah, I remember reading about those. Some of them can reach heights of over 100 feet. That's like taller than a 10-story building. It's no wonder those things terrify even the most seasoned sailors.
Yeah, I can't even imagine seeing one of those coming at you. And then, of course, you've got the Gulf Stream, a very strong current that flows right through the triangle. It can easily scatter debris, making it that much harder to find anything.
Right, so those are already some pretty powerful forces working against you in that area.
Yeah.
But then you add in something like methane hydrates,
Yeah.
and that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, methane hydrates are basically pockets of methane gas trapped beneath the ocean floor. And if one of those pockets were to rupture, it could release a massive amount of gas, creating areas where the water density is suddenly much lower.
So ship could just be sailing along and suddenly whoosh, down it goes.
Exactly. And you actually sent over a study that looked at the possibility of methane hydrates playing a role in the disappearance of the Sulphur Queen, that tanker we talked about earlier. The theory is that the molten sulfur it was carrying, it could have reacted with the methane, causing a huge explosion.
Okay, so we've got volatile weather, rogue waves, powerful currents, and even exploding methane gas. I mean, those are some pretty convincing natural explanations for at least some of these disappearances, right?
For sure, nature is a powerful force. Don't underestimate it.
Totally agree, but we've still got a lot more ground to cover. And I have a feeling things are about to get a little less, well, conventional.
Right. Oh, yeah, we're
Okay.
about to head into some pretty wild territory.
All right, hit me with it. What other theories are out there?
Well, how about alien abductions? You included some accounts from people claiming to have seen strange lights or unexplained objects over the triangle, right?
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
Especially that one about the pilot who said he saw a giant metallic disc hovering over his plane.
That's the one. And there are even theories about underwater alien bases hidden deep in the ocean, potentially interfering with our ships and planes using super advanced technology we can't even understand.
Okay, now that's some serious sci-fi stuff. But those theories always make me wonder. Why the Bermuda Triangle? What makes this spot so special to aliens?
Right. It's a good question. And it leads us to even wilder theories. Remember that one you sent about the triangle being a portal to another dimension, a sort of cosmic doorway where ships and planes can just slip through and vanish?
Whoa, yeah, that one was a real mind bender. And it reminded me of another theory you shared, the one about the lost city of Atlantis. Some people believe that the Atlanteans, with their advanced technology, are the ones behind the disappearances. Maybe they're using their ancient knowledge to mess with our ships and planes.
That's right. It's a really interesting theory that blends those old myths with modern-day mysteries.
So let's see, we've got aliens, hidden underwater bases, portals to other dimensions, and even angry Atlanteans. It seems like every possibility, no matter how crazy, has been thrown into the mix when it comes to the Bermuda Triangle.
That's part of what makes it so fun to talk about, right? It's a canvas for the imagination. But we should also remember that not every disappearance can be blamed on aliens or supernatural forces.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Human error and mechanical failures are a part of life everywhere, especially out on the open ocean, and the Bermuda Triangle is no exception.
Exactly. And even the U.S. Coast Guard, they've said that the Bermuda Triangle is no more statistically dangerous than any other busy shipping lane.
Which makes sense, right? I mean, with so many ships and planes passing through the area, statistically, there are going to be accidents.
Exactly. And then you factor in those natural conditions we talked about earlier, the unpredictable weather, rogue waves, and strong currents. And it's easy to see how even a small incident could turn into a major disaster.
Right. And with those conditions, evidence could disappear really quickly, making it look like the vessel just vanished without a trace.
Exactly. Sometimes the simplest explanation is the most likely. But I have to admit, there's something alluring about the more fantastical theories, isn't there? I mean, it's fun to imagine that there are forces at work beyond our understanding.
I agree. It definitely makes things more interesting. And speaking of interesting, your research also brought up some fascinating psychological factors behind our obsession with the Bermuda Triangle.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other rabbit hole.
Right. Why are we so drawn to this mystery, even with all the skepticism and rational explanations?
Well, I think it taps into something primal within us, a fear of the unknown, a sense of wonder about the vastness of the ocean, and a need to make sense of things we can't explain.
It's like a collective shiver we get when we think about the power of nature and the mysteries that are still hidden beneath the waves.
Exactly. It reminds us that for all our scientific advancements, there are still things out there that we don't understand.
And that sense of wonder of running up against the limits of what we know, it's both scary and exciting, isn't it?
Totally. The Bermuda Triangle forces us to face the fact that we don't have all the answers. And that can be a humbling, even unsettling experience.
It makes you realize that we're not always in control.
Right.
There are forces out there much bigger than us.
I think so too. But it's not just about fear and uncertainty. The Bermuda Triangle also sparks our imaginations, right? It's a place where we can explore our wildest theories, where the line between what's real and what's imagined gets blurry.
It lets us push the boundaries of what we believe and what we're willing to consider. Aliens, other dimensions, ancient civilizations, the possibilities are endless.
It's like a playground for our curiosity. And I think that's the real power of the Bermuda Triangle. It reminds us that even in a world that's increasingly defined by logic and reason, there's still room for wonder and mystery.
It's a testament to the enduring power of the unknown.
That's a great way to put it. And it's not just about the triangle itself, but the stories, the legends, the way this mystery has woven itself into our culture.
It's become a modern myth, a story we tell ourselves to remember that there are still things we don't know. It's like a campfire story, but on a global scale.
Exactly. And like any good myth, it has something to teach us. I think the Bermuda Triangle, with all its mystery and speculation, forces us to confront our own limitations, our fear of the unknown, and our need to understand the world around us.
It's a reminder that even with all our technology and knowledge, there are still things we can't explain. And maybe that's a good thing, A little bit of mystery keeps life interesting, right?
Absolutely. It keeps us curious, it keeps us exploring, and it reminds us that the world is a much stranger and more wonderful place than we often realize.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And, we could probably talk about the Bermuda Triangle for hours, but unfortunately, our deep dive has to come to an end at some point. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with a little something to think about. We've explored a whole range of explanations, from natural phenomena to the supernatural. What stands out to you as the most compelling explanation for the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle?
You're putting me on the spot. That's a tough one. I don't think there's any single answer that everyone will agree on, but for me, I always come back to the power of nature.
The raw force of the ocean, the unpredictable weather, the hidden dangers lurking beneath the surface.
Exactly. We often underestimate the raw power of the natural world. The Bermuda Triangle is a stark reminder that despite our best efforts to control and understand our environment, there are forces out there that are far greater than ourselves.
And maybe there's a certain beauty in that, and acknowledging that we're not always in control. It's a humbling thought.
It is, and it's a thought that I think resonates with a lot of people. We crave certainty, but the world is full of uncertainties. And the Bermuda Triangle, with all its unanswered questions, forces us to face that reality.
It's a reminder to embrace the unknown, to acknowledge the limits of our understanding, and to appreciate the mystery that still surrounds us.
Very well said. And who knows, maybe someday we'll unlock the secrets of the Bermuda Triangle. But until then, we can enjoy the thrill of the chase, the endless possibilities, and the enduring power of a good mystery. All right, so are you ready to dive into some of those less conventional theories?
Oh yeah, hit me with it. I'm all ears.
All right, well, let's start with alien abductions. I mean, you did include in your research some accounts from people claiming to have witnessed like strange lights or unexplained objects in the sky over the triangle, right?
Oh yeah, those were pretty wild. There was that one account from, I think, a pilot who said he saw like a huge metallic disc just hovering over his plane.
Yeah, that's a classic one. And then there are the theories about underwater alien bases, like hidden deep beneath the waves. Maybe they're using some kind of, advanced technology to interfere with our ships and planes.
I mean, that's straight out of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it does make you wonder, why the Bermuda Triangle? Why would aliens be so interested in this particular spot on the planet?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it leads us to some even more out there theories. Like that one you included about the triangle being a portal to another dimension.
Oh yeah, the portal theory. That one really blew my mind. It's like a cosmic doorway where ships and planes can just slip through and poof, gone.
Yeah, it's a wild one. And it actually kind of reminded me of another theory you sent over, the one about the lost city of Atlantis. Some people believe that Atlantis is located somewhere beneath the triangle.
And that maybe the Atlanteans are using their, supposedly super advanced technology to cause all these disappearances.
Right. It's like a blend of ancient myth and modern mystery. Pretty fascinating stuff.
It really is. So we've got aliens, underwater bases, portals to other dimensions, and even, angry Atlanteans messing with our stuff. It seems like every possibility under the sun has been suggested to explain the Bermuda Triangle.
And that's part of what makes it so intriguing, right? It's a real playground for the imagination. But we do need to remember that not every disappearance in the triangle can be attributed to something supernatural or extraterrestrial.
Right, of course not. I mean, that's living on the open ocean.
Exactly. And you even included some information in your research about the U.S. Coast Guard's stance on the Bermuda Triangle. They actually say that it's no more statistically dangerous than any other heavily trafficked area of the ocean.
Yeah, that makes sense. With so many ships and planes passing through the area, statistically, there are bound to be some accidents.
Right. And then you factor in all those natural hazards we talked about earlier. The unpredictable weather, rogue waves, strong currents. Those can easily erase any evidence of an incident, making it look like a vessel just vanished into thin air.
So sometimes the simplest explanation really is the most likely one. But it's hard not to get caught up in the more, fantastical theories. There's something about the idea of like forces beyond our understanding that really captures the imagination.
I agree. It's definitely part of the allure. And that brings us to another interesting point from your research. The psychological factors that contribute to our fascination with the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, why are we so drawn to this mystery?
Yeah.
Even with all the skepticism and all the, perfectly rational explanations.
Well, I think it taps into some pretty deep-seated human instincts, like our fear of the unknown, our sense of wonder about the vastness of the ocean, and our need to, try to make sense of the things we can't explain.
It's like we get this collective shiver down our spines when we think about the power of nature and all the secrets that are still hidden beneath the waves.
Exactly. It's a reminder that despite all our advances in science and technology, there are still things out there that we don't fully understand.
And that sense of wonder, that feeling of bumping up against the limits of our knowledge, it's both terrifying and exhilarating at the same time.
It is. It's like the Bermuda Triangle forces us to acknowledge that we don't have all the answers, that we're not always in control. And, that can be a pretty humbling experience.
It makes you realize just how powerful nature really is and how much we still don't know about the world.
Exactly. But it's not all about fear and uncertainty. The Bermuda Triangle also sparks our imaginations, right? It's a place where we can let our minds run wild, where we can explore all sorts of, crazy theories and possibilities.
Yeah, it's like a giant blank canvas for our imaginations, from alien encounters to portals to other dimensions. The possibilities seem endless.
And that's part of the fun of it. It's a playground for our curiosity. And in a way, it reminds us that even in a world that's becoming more and more defined by, logic and reason, there's still room for wonder and mystery.
I like that. It's a reminder that we don't have to have all the answers, that it's okay to embrace the unknown, and that a little bit of mystery can actually be a good thing.
Exactly. It keeps us curious. It keeps us asking questions. And it reminds us that the world is a much stranger and more wonderful place than we often give it credit for.
So well said. We could probably go on and on about the Bermuda Triangle, but unfortunately our deep dive has to come to an end eventually. But before we wrap things up, I do want to leave our listeners with something to think about. We've explored so many different explanations today, from the purely natural to the totally out there. But what stands out to you as the most compelling explanation for the mysteries of the Bermuda Triangle?
Oh, wow. You're really putting me on the spot here.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I mean, there's no single answer that's going to satisfy everyone. But for me, I always come back to the power of nature.
The sheer force of the ocean, the unpredictable weather patterns, all those hidden dangers lurking beneath the surface.
Exactly. We often underestimate just how powerful the natural world really is. And I think the Bermuda Triangle is a pretty stark reminder of that. It shows us that no matter how hard we try to control and understand our environment, there are forces out there that are far greater than ourselves.
And maybe there's a certain, I don't know, a certain beauty in that, in acknowledging that we're not always in control. It's a humbling thought for sure.
It is. And I think it's a thought that resonates with a lot of people. We, as humans, we crave certainty. But the truth is the world is full of uncertainties. And the Bermuda Triangle, with all its unanswered questions, it forces us to confront that reality.
It's a reminder to embrace the unknown, to accept the limits of our understanding, and to appreciate the mystery that still surrounds us.
Beautifully put. And who knows, maybe someday we will unlock all the secrets of the Bermuda Triangle. But until then, we can enjoy the thrill of the chase, the endless possibilities, and the enduring power of a good mystery.
Yeah, and it really does feel like we've just scratched the surface here. I bet you could do a whole deep dive just on the cultural impact of the Bermuda Triangle, like how it's shown up in movies, books, and all that.
Oh, totally. It's everywhere, right? Movies, books, TV shows, video games, you name it. The triangle has definitely made its mark on pop culture. For sure. And speaking of diving deeper, for anyone listening who wants to, to learn more, there's a ton of information out there. Your research actually had some great resources to get started.
Yeah, you send over a bunch of fascinating stuff. Historical accounts of specific disappearances, scientific papers about the weather and geology of the area, even some really thought-provoking articles about why we're so drawn to mysteries like this.
It's amazing how much there is to explore and how many different perspectives there are on this topic.
Absolutely. But for now, I think we've covered a lot of ground. We've gone through the history of the Bermuda Triangle, looked at some of the most famous cases, weighed the plausible explanations against the more outlandish ones, and even considered the skeptical viewpoints.
And I think, regardless of what you believe, the Bermuda Triangle really represents something much bigger than itself. It's a symbol of, of the unknown. And it reminds us that there are still mysteries out there that we haven't solved.
That we may never solve.
Yeah.
And that's kind of exciting, isn't it? To live in a world where there are still things to discover, things to wonder about.
I think so. Keeps things interesting. Keeps our minds active.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So to everyone listening, keep that sense of wonder alive. Keep exploring. Keep asking questions. The world is full of mysteries, and that's a big part of what makes it so fascinating.
Well said. And remember, sometimes the most intriguing answers aren't the ones we find, but the ones we keep searching for.
I love that. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. Until next time, keep those minds open and those imaginations fired up.